What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content that I'm uploading onto my channel, then feel free to subscribe, and you can also offer suggestions on topics and characters and storylines and whatnot that we can have discussions on later on in this channel.
It's time to play the game. What is going on, members of the Rob Corps? Welcome back to our weekly series on how to kill superheroes. We're the worst villains in comic books, Rob Corps. We're the worst guys. We figure out ways to kill superheroes. We're literally involved in conspiracy to commit murder against superheroes. God, we're terrible people. Now, last week I told you guys, at least I'm pretty sure I said last week, this week we were going to kill Solomon Grundy, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Of course, last week when we were talking about Lobo, we said how that was the most difficult video that we did today, and that is true. This is the most difficult video that we're doing today, and next week's gonna be even harder because next week, or the next video that we do on how to kill superheroes, I think next week I'm trying a new video on how superheroes would kill us. But the next how to kill superheroes video that we're going to do, we're going to try to kill the one above all. We're going to try to kill the literal god of the Marvel universe, and I have no idea how that's going to happen. But this video, Solomon Grundy, is going to be wildly difficult, and to find out why, let us begin where we always do, with a brief explanation of the character followed by a rundown of their powers. So, like many comic book superheroes or villains or what have you, Solomon Grundy has been reimagined and retconned multiple times since his debut in All-American Comics number 61 in 1944. So as a result, his history is a little muddled, but the long and short of it is that Solomon Grundy started out as a guy named Cyrus Gold, who was murdered in a swamp and later came back as a zombie. Now, he was originally a villain that primarily fought Alan Scott, the first Green Lantern, but has since feuded with several different heroes, most notably Batman and Superman. Now, before we begin discussing his powers, it's worth pointing out that Grundy is a character who, much like Lobo, has been written fairly inconsistently over the years, and it's for that reason that it's hard to get an exact measurement of how powerful he is. For example, we know that Grundy possesses superhuman strength, but just how strong he is varied by different writers who have handled the character over the years, as we've seen everything from Grundy getting beaten up by Batman in The Long Halloween to possessing strength that appeared to be equivalent to Superman. Now, in addition to his strength, Grundy's undead status allows him to survive without air, food, drink, or sleep, as well as allowing him to fight without his muscles tiring, which gives him seemingly limitless stamina. Also adding to our challenge, Grundy has an extremely potent regenerative healing factor that allows him to instantaneously regenerate from virtually any injury, which, now that I think about it, seems to be becoming a staple of the characters that are getting featured in the series lately. But with all that said, Grundy presents a rather unique challenge for us in that while it is possible to overcome his strength, stamina, and healing and actually kill Grundy, the problem lies in the fact that each time he has been killed, Grundy has been able to come back to life. In fact, Grundy has been killed a few times in DC Comics itself. Once, he was dismembered by winds created by Red Tornado, which ended his life. He's been choked to death by a bowstring from Green Arrow, which doesn't make any sense because Grundy doesn't need to breathe. And in another instance, Grundy was killed by a collapsing building. Now, after each of these deaths, Grundy was able to come back, sometimes as a creature with some measure of intelligence, and other times as a mindless monster. So for our discussion today, we're not really answering the question, how can we kill Solomon Grundy? Because that's been done several times. What we're really trying to answer is, how can we kill Solomon Grundy and prevent him from coming back? Well, to answer that, we have to have a discussion about what exactly it is that keeps bringing Grundy back from the dead. And that conversation has to start with a concept in DC Comics known as the Green. Now, the Green is an elemental force that ties together all plant life in the DC universe, and it exists in a sort of spirit dimension that's home to a group called the Parliament of Trees. Now, in addition to the Green, there are other forces in DC Comics, such as the Red, which connects all animal life, and the Rot, or the Black, that's a force for decay. Now, in order to keep all these forces in balance, these different aspects appoint avatars to operate as the protectors on Earth. There have been several of these, but the most famous among the avatars of the Green have been Swamp Thing and Poison Ivy. However, what many people don't realize is that at one time, the Green had planned on making Solomon Grundy one of their avatars by resurrecting him as a plant elemental in the same vein as Swamp Thing, but overlooked the fact that one crucial element in creating such an avatar was fire. Now, because of the fact that Solomon Grundy had never been burned by fire prior to or during his death, what this meant was that the process to turn him into an avatar of the green was basically a failure, and the result was a kind of half-plant elemental that rises out of the same swamp after each of Solomon Grundy's deaths, seemingly for eternity. So now that we understand why Grundy keeps coming back, we might be able to figure out a way to stop the process so that once we kill him, he stays dead. Now, our first option should probably be to see if those who created the problem, the Parliament of Trees, has a solution. Since they're the ones responsible for creating Solomon Grundy in the first place, there perhaps exists a way that can correct their mistake. So someone like Swamp Thing may be able to petition the Parliament of Trees to take action and reverse the curse that allows Grundy to keep coming back. However, it can be reasonably assumed that the Parliament is unable to do anything about Grundy since they haven't already. Either that, or they simply have no desire to do so. Of course, if that doesn't work, our next option, as it often is to try and use magic. When all else fails, it seems we can always try and magic our way out of the situation. That's basically DC's version of reality warping for Marvel Comics. Now, in this particular circumstance, there is some hope that magic will actually help, rather than basically being a way for us to use a trump card and get out of the situation as a last resort. And the reason why I say this is that the DC universe is actually home to a practitioner of magic that has a lot of experience in dealing with matters concerning the green. This person being John Constantine. Now, if you don't know who John Constantine is, he's basically an expert on several different types of magic, mysticism, and other occult knowledge, and has spent a lot of time working with Swamp Thing. Now, because of all this experience that he has working with the green, it's not too far-fetched to think that he might be able to tap into some sort of spell that he's learned over the years. Now, I'll concede here that I'm not aware of any specific spell that we've seen Constantine use in the comics that would lead us to believe that he can do this. But since this series is by nature hypothetical and speculative, not to mention entirely focused on fictional characters, I think this exists as a viable option, possibly, hopefully. If not, then we have one other option, and it could be to turn out to be our most drastic, if not ecologically irresponsible. Since Grundy's resurrection seems to occur in the same place every time, specifically in the Slaughter Swamp, located a few miles from Gotham City, it occurs to me anyway, what if we destroy the swamp? Now, environmental concerns aside, it could prove true that if we destroy the Slaughter Swamp, which is basically the site of Grundy's continuous resurrections, that maybe he'll stay dead once and for all. Now, I admit this might not work due to the fact that as long as there's plant life on Earth, we'll basically be stuck with Solomon Grundy dying and coming back together all the time. But at the very least, it's worth a shot. Now, assuming that any of these plans succeed in eliminating Solomon Grundy's resurrections, we still, of course, have to find a way to kill him. But because of the fact that we've already covered ways that he can be killed over the course of this video, we really don't have to rehash any of that. We can just kind of go with any of the options that we've chosen so far. But if you guys are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like, and if you have any suggestions on characters that you think we should kill that we haven't killed already here in our How to Kill Superheroes series, post them down in the comments section. I'm curious to see what kind of person you guys come up with. And with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end, and I will catch you all later. Peace.